what's up, y'all? It's your boy SimplyFoodByTy, and today, y'all, we're going to be making some bomb orange chicken. Yes, honey, we're making ourselves some orange chicken. So look, the first thing we want to start doing, of course, is start prepping up the chicken pieces. So what I'm going to be using are boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Now look, if you want to be extra and do the most, you can use chicken breast, but I would advise against that just because I feel like your chicken is going to come out mad dry and you don't want that. So I would suggest try it out with the chicken thigh pieces, because typically 9 times out of 10, if you're getting any type of chicken from a Chinese food restaurant, it's going to be chicken thighs unless you specifically ask for white meat. Other than that, it's always going to be chicken thighs. Now what I'm doing is I am cutting these into small bite-sized pieces. I'm not being too fussed about if it has a little bit of fat on it, that's fine. But if there's any huge chunks of fat, you want to trim that off. You don't want to be biting into that. So like, as you can see right now, I'm just going to trim off that back piece there because we don't want to be biting into all of that. Now, once again, like I said, these are boneless, skinless chicken thighs. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting them vertically. I don't know, three times vertically, and then I'm going to cut them horizontally the opposite way and cut them into bite-sized pieces. Now, the thing is, you don't want these pieces to be huge. First things first, you'll be able to really stretch this meal out if you're cutting them into smaller pieces. And not only that, by the time you're done frying them up and putting the batter on them and all of that, you really don't want them to be big chunks of chicken. The bite size is the way to go. But let's focus on the flour dredge itself. Now, what we have here is 2 cups of flour. We're going to be using 1 cup of cornstarch. You know, cornstarch is the key to making extra crispy chicken. That is the key, okay? The seasonings we're going to be adding in is a half a teaspoon of seasonal salt. We're going to be adding in 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. If you can get your hands on white pepper, that's also fabulous. We're going to be adding in 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder. And then just give that a little mix around. Now, this is a recipe that I found online probably about a year or so ago, and I've been kind of making adjustments to it. I wasn't really happy with the way it initially was. I can't remember where I found it, but I've made some little tweaks to it. And one of the things that I changed the most was this next step, which is the buttermilk. Now, the buttermilk is going to, first of all, help tenderize that chicken even more, and then it's going to help crisp up that chicken even more. Now, what I will say is I ended up using a full 2.5 cups of buttermilk. Now, if you are going to be adjusting how much of this recipe you're going to use, if you're not going to be making the full amount like I suggested, then what you want to do is just add the buttermilk in little by little. You want to end up with a kind of like a pancake consistency batter. But if you're going to be doing this the exact way I'm doing it right now, you're going to end up using 2.5 cups of buttermilk. Now, you want to make sure, of course, you're giving that a good whisk so that it ends up coming out nice and smooth, because once again, you want this to be like a pancake consistency batter. You don't want it too thin, and you definitely don't want it too thick. But as you can see, you know, that's come out nice and smooth. And now you're just going to simply add in the chicken pieces. Now, what I would suggest is try to drain off as much of that water as possible. You do not want to be adding in a bunch of that chicken juice inside of this batter, because first of all, it's going to thin it out, and also that just slightly seems disgusting to me. You know what I mean? And then just give that a little mix around, and then you're going to wrap that up in cling wrap, and then you're going to let that sit in the fridge for, I would say, about 1 hour to 2 hours. You don't have to do it any more than 2 hours, but 1 hour minimum, just so that that buttermilk and the seasoning can really hold on to that chicken and really saturate it and, you know, start to create some good flavors. So the next thing we're going to do is start frying off the chicken. Of course, make sure that you guys have your grease at temperature, have that oil piping hot, honey, and you're going to add it in one by one. Now, I'm speeding this up because it takes forever for me to do it. Because I wasn't trying to make a mess. But the reason why you want to add these in one by one and make sure you're draining off any of the excess batter off of the chicken is because you don't want the inside of your grease to be a mess, okay? take a little spoon or a spatula or something, and as you put it in, just keep giving it a little mix around. They might seem like they're going to stick together, but as you move them around, they'll completely break up on their own, so you don't really have to stress about that. But what will help that is by draining off any of the excess batter. And then once it comes out this golden brown color, your chicken is done. Remember, these are tiny pieces of chicken, so you don't have to, stress about cooking these for way too long. Once they start floating and it has that golden brown color, baby, that chicken is done. Take it out, sit it to the side, let it drain off so that you can drain off all that excess oil. But you can see that chicken is beautifully brown and crispy. Let's work on the sauce. So we're adding in about 2 teaspoons of the oil we used from that chicken that we just fried it in. We're adding in 1/4 of a cup of white sugar, 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar, 5 tablespoons of dark soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of ponzu. We're going to be adding in 1 tablespoon of garlic, a tablespoon of ginger. We're also going to be adding in 1 tablespoon of white distilled vinegar. And of course, the star of the show is the 3 ounces of the orange juice. Now, this to me was the perfect amount of sauce for the amount of chicken that I cooked. If you are going to be making more chicken, then you absolutely need to double, if not triple, this sauce. I'm telling you right now, because it's not going to be enough. So just make sure, if you're going to be following this recipe exactly, I would say this sauce is enough for, I would say, no more than 4 to 5 chicken thighs, okay? You want to bring this up to temperature so that it comes to a simmer. Once it comes to a simmer, we're going to add in a little bit of a cornstarch slurry just to help thicken this up. Now, that was roughly about 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and I added in just enough water just to thin it out. Now, you're going to add that slurry in little by little so that you can decide what consistency you want it to be. Now, you don't want to leave it just as it is because that's way too thin, and then that chicken will just turn a complete soggy mess. But what you do want to make sure you're doing is make sure that this is still simmering, and make sure that you are whisking it inside of the pan. Make sure you are using your best non-stick pan possible and no metal spoons, okay? Don't scratch up your pans, y'all. But you want to make sure that you're whisking it inside of the pan because you want it to be smooth, just like gravy. You don't want no clumpy, lumpy gravy. It's the same thing with this sauce. Consistently stir it up so that you can then start to add in your chicken pieces. As you can see, I've cooked off all that chicken, had it draining. Our sauce is now thickened up beautifully. As you can see, it's coating that spoon just the way you want it to. You want it to kind of coat it kind of like a syrup or kind of like a honey. That's when you know that it's ready. Once it's got to that consistency, you can go on ahead and turn the temperature back down and then start adding in your chicken. My mouth is literally watering as we speak. Now, I did not add in all of my chicken at once just because this pan that I'm using is not as wide as I would like it to be, and I wanted to make sure that I am completely coating all of this chicken. But I did add in, as you can see, a decent amount of this chicken. And now you're just going to give it a mix around. You guys, that's it. This is the orange chicken. I'm trying to tell you, this orange chicken is bomb. Do you hear me? Serve it up with some white rice, cauliflower rice, brown rice, whatever you want, with some veggies on the side or something, broccoli, and have yourself a good old meal. You do not have to order out to have some delicious food. You can make it at home, okay? Look, if you are new to my channel, welcome to Simply Food by TY. If you're one of my returning subscribers, well, y'all babies know I already love y'all so much. Look, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and as always, y'all babies stay cute and take care. Bye, guys. I hope y'all try this recipe. If y'all do, take pictures and send it to me, honey. Okay?
Slaying in the kitchen. Simply Food by TY. We hope that you enjoyed it. Simply Food by TY. If you haven't took the time, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Simply Food.